So as you desire to tune into a bigger vision, and as you're cultivating this deeper connected feeling, and as you're then moving in your life to manifest something greater, without that commitment, we don't show up for it. Welcome to the Rylee June Show. I am your host, Rylee June, intuition master coach and spiritual activator. This podcast is here to support you on your growth and ascension journey, for those new to learning about their energy, and for light leaders to set a standard in their work and practices within the industry. Running a multi-six-figure business as a light leader comes with great responsibility. And as I expand my work into the corners of the globe to help others reconnect with who they truly are, just know your time spent here with me is held sacredly. And for light leaders, it's time to show up. We have a massive mission to raise the awareness of human consciousness in our globe. So let's get to work. Energy starting from a vision. Your visions create a feeling. Your feelings create a momentum. And in that momentum, you must in fact step into taking that action, which is what leads to inevitably the law of attraction. But the perpetual transmission really speaks to the vision and the feeling aspect of the manifestation process. And so today, not only am I going to be sharing that with you and going more in depth with it, but I'm also going to be sharing a downloaded message that I received from heart surgery at 4 months old. And we were sitting with a negative $250 in our bank account on a good day. And I would pick up odd jobs as I could, but I couldn't really work very much because my husband needed somebody there full time. We lived an hour and a half away from everybody else. Moving was not in the financial cards, and we just had so much going on. He also couldn't take care of my son because he was only able to lift so much weight, and he also was constantly tired. He had to recover. Heart surgery, if you know anyone who's been through it, you know that it's not just this it's not like a cast on a broken arm. Your entire body gets split in half. Anyways, I'll skip over the details. However, it was very challenging. And I wanted something in my life that not only was going to help me to heal through all the things that I went through, but also could turn around and help somebody else. And when I manifested this opportunity to be in a certified psychic mediumship training program, I didn't realize that that was going to be, for lack of better words, my ticket out. I really just truly wanted to start healing grief from my aunt who had passed before all these things with my husband and my son's surgeries took place. Because I shoved that down in the closet of my soul. I figured, okay, I only have X amount of time to grieve. My husband, my son needs me. I don't have time for this right now. And when we finally got the good news and our bank account wasn't getting any better and we were still struggling, and the good news in terms of my husband wasn't going to die anymore, everybody was going to be okay, things were going to look up, I really needed to find that out. That out in terms of I was willing to be accountable for the problems that I was facing internally, mentally, emotionally, but also to get us out of that situation we were in. And because I couldn't just go out and pick up a job and work 9 to 5, I had to find something and adapt my life and figure out how to make it work with online. And at this point, the online world was booming, not like it is today, but 4 years ago, there was a lot of opportunity for people online. And of course, there still is. And as I started to show up online and offer readings, I really started to realize very quickly that my vision really truly could become something. And I'm going to speak more to the experience of what took place as I started to show up with this downloaded message that I'm going to share with you in a moment. But why I'm sharing this part right now is because it really took a vision. And in this case, it was a desperate vision. I didn't want to have negative $250 in my bank. I wanted to heal from grief. I wanted to be able to support my family full time, and for us all to be able to, me and my husband really, to grow up with our kids and not have to put them in daycares and all those things. And if you're a parent who does those things, and of course you very likely don't like it, I don't say this to shame you by any means if for whatever reason that may have come across in that way. I say this because there's always an option. And for me, putting my kids into daycares or homeschools and things like that wasn't an option. Not only did it go against my own values of how I wanted to raise my kids, but it also just wasn't something that we could even afford, period. So I really had no other choice but to figure something out. And I held that vision of first, hopefully getting out of 250 in the bank. I was like, if I can figure that out, like I'm set for life. I don't know what that looks like, but like I'm a hope for the best here. And when it started to happen, I started to realize not only more of my own capability, but also the courage. And I would feel so much more deeply into, okay, well, what's that next level of vision? I figured out how to do this. We have a relatively stable bank account now. I can pay for the groceries. I definitely can't even touch the debt yet, but at least we can pay for the groceries and cover absolute basic bills. Okay, well, what's that next stage? Well, the bigger vision is like retiring, Phil. Oh my gosh, how do I even get there? What is that even going to look like? And I immediately would fall into the space of almost victim mentality, where it's like, where I am is not good enough because I'm not already over there. And with the law of perpetual transmission, it takes out all the emotional bias. It takes all of the emotional attachment out of it. And it is just about sitting in your vision and cultivating a feeling to just that vision and just that feeling. And so when I say taking out all the emotional attachment, I mean to everything else in your life. Where you currently are, where you think you need to be, what's going on around, if your kids are screaming in the background, really sitting in that vision and cultivating the energy within you so deeply that no matter what's taking place, that vision doesn't seem unattainable, though when you open your eyes, you're like, I don't even know what step one looks like. But you are anchoring in that feeling. And I remember meditating on it every day. Every time I'd go on a live, I'd say a prayer and just thank God for all the blessings He's given to us and granted us, and to continue to bring the insight, bring the visions, bring the downloads, bring the clear steps, and bring the courage to me to be able to take the actions needed to help me to get to where I wanted to be. And in that time, I was very much in a space in my life where I didn't feel worthy and I didn't feel strong. And I had a lot of emotional baggage weighing me down. And it really took me courageously, constantly, showing up consistently to say, no matter what I feel right now, based on old programs and stories and habits and beliefs, I'm not willing to settle there. And I cultivated an energy so deep within me that even though I struggled and did it alone for 2 years, I was able to manifest that experience, literally to the point where a pivotal point came in our lives, where I took our rent. So this would have been November of 2019. I took our rent for December. It was the middle of the month, and I invested in my first coach because I decided I was no longer available for struggling to get to this vision of retiring my husband. I was like, I don't know how this works out. I'm probably clearing $5,000 a month. It's amazing at this point, but if I'm really going to get to the caliber that I want, the 10K months, the 15K months, the 20K months, the 20K launches, having the plethora of clients, building out quality communities, having the time freedom to be able to sit down and focus on the things, thus having my husband home to help with the kids, this is going to take a new level of me. And so before I made the decision to hire the coach, I sat in the feeling and I asked and I prayed to God. I said, what do I need to do? But I already knew the answer. I had already cultivated the feeling. I knew that my next step was investing. And I hired the coach with our rent from the next month. And I had no idea how I was going to make that up. And literally that day, my husband came home. He had had a heart attack on the job. He woke up face down in the mud. And he came home and he said, I can't do this anymore. And I said, well, this is a really shitty day for you to come home and do that. Because I just took our rent and I invested in a coach. And I don't know how this is going to work, but I know that this is going to work out. And because we openly communicate with each other, he just looked at me and said, I trust you. I don't know what you just did, but I trust you. I said, okay, I'm going to show up for that. And I showed up consistently every day. to make sure that what I needed to accomplish happened, or at the very least, I could say I truly did my best. I didn't just sit back and hope and pray and wish on a dream and never add that level of action. And with the law of perpetual transmission, in every single day, I would sit and I would hold that vision and I would tune into that feeling. I would tune into that frequency, and then even more so take that action. So beyond the law of perpetual transmission, which is about vision and feeling, I would then take that action. Really the entire cycle of law of attraction. And I made up that rent within 2 weeks. I think I ended up paying it a day or two late. But thankfully we have had incredible landlords, and so they totally understood. To this point, okay, we moved into this acreage property that we were in prior to. So right now we're in a different home, and we had previously lived on bare acreage land, if you've been following along. And then before that we were on another acreage. And so in that first acreage, we had moved into that property around November. It would have been right after my aunt passed, and then within 3 months my husband got diagnosed with congenital heart failure, and within 3 or 4 months of that he had to completely quit working because he just didn't have the energy to do anything. And our landlords literally came to us and said, I know you're going through a hard time. Whatever needs to be done, you take care of you and we'll work out the rest. And it is because of us showing up in a way where we kept God alive in our heart, even though we really didn't have such a strong relationship. At that point, we had nothing left but to hopefully pray and hope it all worked out. But in a way, we found God in those moments. And we weren't willing to settle. We did everything we could to try and make it work. So in the very beginning of it, I would work as much as I possibly could before Phil really started going downhill. But fast forward to now, it's because of the actions. It's because of sitting in the vision, tuning out the noise and the distractions of the world. As we go into February, the distractions, the noise, it is going to absolutely ramp up. So going into an overarching theme for this month is going to completely ramp up with noise. It is going to sound and be and feel so loud. And if you're not taking that time to tune out, to unplug, to cultivate within, to find your own vision, to curate into that frequency, to shift into that frequency, and even taking it a step further, to take aligned actions, you're going to find yourself very deflated, defeated, overwhelmed, confused, anxious-ridden, and even annoyed. And not necessarily just annoyed with the world. More so, I find we get annoyed with ourselves. Because we know better. We do. If we say we don't, it's not true. We do. We know better. We know what we need to do. But we make excuses based on beliefs and energetic patterns and cycles from the past. And we just choose to not show up because it's not that exciting. The idea of where you want to go is exciting. So going into the law of perpetual transmission, the vision of where you want to get to is exciting. And so you sit in it and you pray with it and you activate it, and the feeling comes through and ignites within your body. But then we don't take that action. And then we feel disrupted because it didn't manifest. Well, of course it didn't. An idea without action is only a dream. You have to apply yourself too. And so as we move into this month of February and it being all about noise, and here in this space we're grounding into the vision and the feeling, if you're feeling disconnected from your goals, your visions that you may have set out in this year, or maybe you didn't set them at all because maybe there was a sense of hopelessness in you, I really invite you to take that step back this month. And so something that we're going to be doing from February 7th to 14th is the recalibration. Recalibration is a 7-day alignment experience that I am inviting you to join me in. There is 7 days of meditation and divine assignments to help you recalibrate to the frequency of what is actually alive and present in your life. And this will bring about that peace of mind, that calming state, slowing your nervous system, shifting into that higher vibration, opening your heart chakra and allowing the space for the beautiful downloads to come through because you chose to show up for you. It's $7.77 to join. And why I was originally going to make this free, and I wanted to talk about this for a moment because this is going to make sense when we switch over here in literally a minute to this downloaded message. When we don't invest, when we don't put skin in the game, it is more likely that we will fall off track and not follow through because we have nothing to hold us accountable to the decision we've made. So as you desire to tune into a bigger vision, and as you're cultivating this deeper connected feeling, and as you're then moving in your life to manifest something greater, without that commitment, we don't show up for it. And time again, I take witness to this in not only my own analytics that I dive through in the work that I put on this world, but also in just communicating and connecting with other people who do this work in the world too. And that's every time they run free courses or master classes or challenges, that by day 3, more than half of the people have fallen off because they haven't actually put something into it. It's just something they signed up for. And so why I wanted to put a charge on this, one, because 7 is the number of luck, and luck is all about positive vibes, good intentions, manifestation, but also that it's your way of saying, I'm invested in this experience. So that's what we're going to be doing. The link is going to be in the show notes for this. You can go check it out. And beyond that, if you're hearing this message, it means that there is still an opportunity for you to enroll in the Align and Ascend Mastermind. This mastermind is not an intensive. This mastermind is not about jamming you packed with information and you walking away from it overwhelmed. This mastermind is aligning you to your vision, your truth, creating a space, cultivating a space with like-minded soul sisters who you get to invest in you and show up with. That's what this life is all about. And if my story I've shared in the beginning has taught me anything in this life, it's that if I want to play the game of the bigger vision, I gotta be willing to invest in it too. And no matter what that vision looks like, if you really want it, we will figure it out every time. We always do. I really wanted that experience. And even though it was illogical, I figured it out. And I've done that in other situations too, because I wanted to be somewhere, so I got to learn from somebody or knew that I needed to learn from somebody who was where I wanted to be so that I could cultivate that frequency surrounded by that vision, be held and supported, and equally show up with courage and consistency to make it happen. And when we do this, all the other pieces and parts fall into place. And that's something that I want you to take away from this, no matter where you go forward with this episode. You have to be willing to show up. And especially as we move into February with the noise in the world ramping up, you have to be willing to be committed to you and your visions first and foremost. Or it's going to get loud and it's going to get overwhelming. And I'm not here to sugarcoat this for you. You don't need it to be sugarcoated. You already probably have that same feeling. There's a lot happening. There's always a lot happening. And there's always going to be a lot happening. So what are you doing to secure your path forward in alignment with your vision? All right, I'm going to turn it over to the download. Tune into this. It is a really powerful message. And for my light workers, there's going to be a lot of big takeaways here for you because this is something that should very genuinely be considered and taken seriously. So, I love you. Tune in. I'll see you on the other side. This is going to be my first ever truck recorded episode with you because as I'm driving, I'm having this beautiful download come through. And so what I will normally do is I'll actually just put on my voice recorder and I will have the message pour through so that I can come back and listen to it. But this time I'm just going to do this as if it's truly the episode that you're going to hear right now. Something that's coming through very strongly for me, and I feel like this is where a lot of light workers go wrong and really find themselves struggling, is it's in the lack of education. And so if you follow along with my page and my channel at all, you know that I've spoken to this often. And that is, it's easy for anyone to go to a Mystic store and grab a $30 deck of cards and show up online and start doing readings and charging or even doing it for free. But gone are the days where that is truly enough. Because out of that, you breed a type of clientele that is desperate. They're coming to you with this thinking, these thought patterns that you know more about them than they know about themselves. And this was something that very early on when I started literally doing what I'm saying you shouldn't do, right? We all start somewhere. We all start somewhere. I'm not oversighting that I am also very much an advocate for that. But when I got started, I realized very, very quickly that people were coming to me thinking that I knew more about them than they knew about themselves. When energy is truly just energy, I am truly just reading your energy. And as I was studying intuition and mediumship development and holding space for people in mediumship sessions, communicating with their loved ones on the other side, even just offering them messages for guidance in their own life, the thing that kept coming up was the inability or lack of understanding in myself to actually truly hold space for people's emotions. I didn't know how to navigate different emotions that people were experiencing. I didn't know how to hold space for someone if they went on a tangent about how they think their husband is cheating. I didn't know how to hold a conversation from a higher point of view and perspective because I didn't know how to do that. Nobody ever taught me. I was never trained. And that can be very detrimental, not only to the success of your business as a light leader, but more and most importantly, to your quality of clients and the transformation that they come out with on the other side. And so very quickly, realizing this, I started diving into behavioral studies, wanting to understand more of the basic fundamental principles of psychology, needing to understand what holding space for people truly meant, what it looked like, and how I just basically learning how to hold space for people in all different senses. Because as we are evolving within ourselves and we step out into this world as a healer and we realize this beautiful magical gift that we have truly stumbled across and very likely even had it transform our own lives in some way, that doesn't mean you know what you're doing. It's more likely than not you're regurgitating something that you were taught. And again, I'm not oversighting the getting started process. I always say get started before you're ready, because you're never really truly going to be ready. But make your education your priority to really support you in understanding what it takes to hold space for people. This is why I developed the Align and Ascend Mastermind, because I was constantly coming into containers and equally having the experiences where in the beginning I had no idea what I was doing, and as I went into other containers, other people didn't know what they were doing. And it became very wildly important to me, especially when I started to see people get roped into things that was not for their highest good whatsoever. And that gets very wildly overlooked in this industry because everything's energy and healing is magical, and it is. And you know, it's a way to escape the matrix, to be able to provide for your family, even as a side hustle or as a full-time opportunity, right? That's what I do now, full-time. And a lot of people can do this full-time. But the difference between you being confident and protected in what you're doing and equally your clients is honestly your education. It is. Think of it like this. You can be whatever you want in life, but you have to go and get an education. You can't just go and apply to a hospital and say, okay, today I'm a nurse, today I'm a doctor. You can't just walk into a dentist office and say, I'm going to go do surgery on your teeth today. You can't walk into a massage therapy space and say, okay, all right, I've been rubbing my husband's back for the last 20 years. This is good enough. I know what I'm doing. Let's charge people for this. And that's kind of the same concept when you're offering readings and when you're doing healings. Because when you, as the healer or the reader, are holding space for someone or running energy, if your own energy is not in check, or you aren't in the space where you understand how to navigate and separate your energy from your clients, whatever you're dealing with in your personal life is going to blend and stream subconsciously in your clients. And this really isn't talking to or about often at all. I hardly see this anywhere. And I say this, and I've spoken to this before, because this is so detrimental. Okay? People in the last 2 years have been having a really hard time, period. That's not even including unpacking the life that they had leading up to that. And as they come into their healing, I know light leaders, healers, psychics, mediums, that you want to help people. You want to see them transform and change and smile and live their life in the best and best of ways, especially if you've experienced that transformation for yourself. It's why you get into what you're doing today. But it's not good enough. It's not good enough because you're holding space for people's psychology, for people's lives. And it's so much more than just a card reading. It's so much more than running energy. And in Reiki courses that I've taken, even in intuition courses that I've taken, nobody speaks to this. And that is such a problem. This industry is unregulated. And so it just works out for so many people's favors. But if you really want to stand out in the work that you're doing, not only blazing a trail and path in your own work, in your own methodologies, in your own divine creations, in what your soul came here to do, you have to know what you're doing, period, first, so that you have the awareness and then build into that confidence that allows those messages, the guidance, and the understanding to come through. Otherwise, you could be doing damage to somebody else, especially if you're someone who has had clients in the past or even now who are jumping to rebook with you before you've even had another session, before the session that you're already in is up. If their question by the end of your session is, okay, how often do I do this? They're not fully satisfied. They didn't get actually what they needed because you don't understand how to pull out of their own story and give them, whether that's the advice, the guidance, the understanding, the healing, the thought reflection, to lead them to a path and to a space where they have the aha moments and the breakthroughs. Energy and intuition is no different than psychology. It's really just a different approach. And so same with psychologists and therapists and counselors. They have to go to school to do what they're doing. And in this online world of instant gratification, open up shop tomorrow, you don't need a website, you just need a platform, giver, do it. Again, I'm an advocate for getting started. Let your standards be greater than that, because that is going to make or break how much money you make. It's going to make or break the quality of clients you have. It's going to make or break how much overwhelm you carry every day and your willingness to actually show up. See, 80% of businesses within the first year fail. And the reason that is because they're under-trained and under-qualified to do what they're doing. And what allowed me to be able to persevere beyond that first year was investing in the training, was investing in the coaching, was actually getting the support to help me when I needed it. And even when I didn't think I needed it, getting it anyways. I went to school for business admin and accounting, and I'd say that even that didn't qualify me to be able to learn what I'm doing today. It really took tens of thousands of dollars of investing over the last 4 years to get me to the position where I can say sure-footedly that if you're going into the energy industry, you need to be educated on what you're doing. No, you don't need a website. No, you don't need ClickFunnels. No, you don't need all these other things. But to support you and to support your clients, not only just logically and tangibly, but also legally. These are things that go overlooked because it's easy to accept an e-transfer or a Venmo transfer or a PayPal transfer and just pocket that. But that's not going to get you a long-term scalable growth or business. That's not going to get you self-sustainable and being able to retire your husband. That's not going to get you the time freedom and financial freedom that you desire. You have to learn how to do that. And if you're taking on the notion, well, I'll figure that out on my own, you're only shooting yourself in the foot, because subconsciously you're saying, I'm not worthy of the support. And I say this lovingly because I was in those shoes. I tried to do it alone for 2 years, and it took me 2 years longer to get to where I am today. If I would have just invested and hired the coach from the beginning and got into that space, I would be double, if not triple, my revenue now. And I don't say that because I'm like, oh, woe is me, I should have done this sooner. But I save this to save you some time, a lot of time. The one thing in life you cannot buy is time. You can buy happiness, despite what people say. Money gives you more freedom, which gives you more opportunity, which creates more happiness, right? You can buy everything in some capacity or way. The thing you cannot buy is time. And in this world, it's not about, okay, shit, I'm in the door. I got to run 300,000 miles an hour right now and get all the way to the end. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that for you to really step up into what you desire to do, and if you are seriously taking this work seriously, invest. Invest in your work. If you go to any company, absolutely any company, online, offline, doesn't matter. They invest. They invest in the team, in the support, in the employees, in the products. They invest. Some companies who go really big, they invest in the coaching support, and they have bigger divisions and bigger teams. The same rules and logic applies to you and your work too. Even that doesn't mean you have to have 100-person company that you're running. But eventually you'll get to the point where there's things to delegate. And I share this with you because I want you to succeed, and I know you can succeed. You're not being called into this world with these gifts that you have for absolutely no reason. You're not feeling the pull to step up and offer healing for no reason. And maybe you do go into it in the beginning out of a sense of desperation. I did. I wanted to not have negative $250 in my bank account on a good day. And so I manifested the opportunity to not have that experience. And it was through offering readings. But I still invested in even mini courses and coaching programs where I could, even if they were under $100, or free masterclasses or 3-day workshops. I was willing to learn. Because when you do, if you're not already offering sessions, when you do, and even if you are already, honestly, if you don't understand how to pull out of somebody's energy, pull out of somebody's story is essentially what you're doing, you're not going to be able to help them. You're not discerning between what's yours and what's theirs. You're not actually providing a quality experience because they're walking away ready to book another session. Now, there's a difference between somebody being excited about the work that happened and they want to further working with you. That's one thing. But when they're coming out of it and they're like, okay, what's my check-in? How often do I do this? What's my check-in? It's not like, wow, I really want to continue to work with you. There's a totally different tone between those two things. That's where your education really matters. Yes, you can run a business for virtually free. I teach my students how to set up a business with a $15 a month payment at the very least. And you can do that very successfully and have a very, very minimal expense. Everything's online. You use Instagram, you use TikTok, you use Facebook, or one of them, and it's free. But you have to invest. You have to invest in yourself because it's not even about you anyways. You're investing in the support you're providing to humanity. And as a byproduct, your life will naturally get better and bigger and grander in whatever bigger, better, and grander looks for you. But you can't overlook the investment. And it's not one time. It's ever evolving. Because if it's not in, okay, I'm going to learn more about energy and in business development and marketing, it's today I want to take up learning how to do snowboarding, or I want to learn how to speak another language. Well, you're going to invest in that. You're going to invest time and attention. And if you're smart, money to get somebody to teach you just how to do it now, instead of figuring out what app you got to get and what free download you got to get, right? We got to cut that out. We got to cut that out. There were times where I had no idea how I was going to make rent because I took the rent and I invested in a coach. Because I was willing to do what it took to make sure that as my vision grew, my goals were equally that much more attainable. And I showed up to do the actions. I showed up to make sure that it happened. You know, there's such a toxic mentality around hustling right now. Oh, you know, everything's sit on the carpet with the tray and meditate, close your eyes, wish, dream, and pray. And it's like, yes, embodiment is important. It is fundamentally 80% of everything you create. But without that other 20%, that action, you're just sitting in the 80% of a dream. A goal, a vision, an idea without action is just a dream. So how can you show up to invest in your education and how to do things appropriately so that your dream is attainable, so that your vision is available, so that as you grow, you're not overwhelmed because you don't know what to do. You are held, you are supported, you are educated, and you are guided. And if you are hearing this message, the Align and Ascend Mastermind at this point has likely started. But I am leaving this open for you in the description, in the show notes, to sign up right now. By the time of our first call, I'm not 100% sure when this is going to go out. You may miss the kickoff call, but by the time our first call takes place on February 6th, that enrollment will be closed. So if you're hearing this after, go and head over and put your name on the wait list. I don't actually even know if I'm going to open another round because I will be turning all this content into a spiritual university where you can be accredited with healing modalities, the mindset work, the business development, the marketing strategies, all of it. But this is something you're not going to want to miss out. This isn't an intensive. You're not getting thrown into the wolves into something you can't handle. This is 5 months of support, of learning, of growing, of healing, of community. The sisterhood that is experienced in this space is truly unbelievable. This is for you. If you are in this earth and you are helping shift the paradigm of our reality, because you are also shifting in that reality too. And in order for you to be able to support humanity in doing that, you have to understand what it takes and what you get to do that. So we heal you throughout this process. The awareness, the breakthroughs, the connection, the community, all of it. And the best part is you get access to all your trainings and teachings for 12 months. So as you're ready, you can implement it as you go. And I think that's so wildly incredible because nobody else does that. Usually you only get access for the time frame that you're in it. And I know that not everybody's ready to implement all of it. So that's why you'll get it taught, or it'll be accessible as a self-study so you can bring it on as you grow. And you will grow so wildly exponentially, but you also get to be supported in that. So that when those thoughts of, oh no, the shoe's going to drop, who am I to do this? How did I think I was going to follow through with this? You will, because you're held and because you can. This work that you're doing was never about you, though it may have started that way. So get out of your head and plug into your heart, and it's time to educate. I love you. I'm sending you all the love, and I will hopefully see you in the mastermind. All right, beautiful soul. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I kind of gave a bit of a butt kicking because it was honestly the same message that I needed to really support me in realizing that if I wanted something, it was going to take more than just a vision. It was going to take more than just a vision board. It was going to take more than just me sitting in my bed feeling the dreadfulness of, I don't know how I'm going to get there. Well, I figured out how to get there once I started getting the proper support. And if you are someone who is offering sessions, but you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not seeing the growth, you're not seeing the scalability, you're not seeing your own downloads coming through clearly, or you're someone who's even just wanting to get into this spiritual industry, you learn modalities and skills to support you so that you have something to start with, to work with. And then if you are already offering sessions, a beautiful way to go deeper into how you're doing what you're doing. I think what's so beautiful about the experience of showing up and answering that call to serve humanity is that, like I said in the message, was that it's not about you, and it never was. And it might seem like, well, I'm not there yet, like, and I have things that I need to get in check. You do that by showing up and serving. You really do. The most greatest act of generosity is truly to be of service to others. And that's such a beautiful thing that whether you join the mastermind or not, even just taking a moment to acknowledge yourself for that desire, you know if you're ready or not. I may have kind of clamped down a bit, given you a little bit of a butt kicking. But that's the other thing, too, that I want to speak to before we wrap up this episode. And that's you have to be willing to offend. Another example of when I wasn't available for investing but did it anyways was when I went to a conference in San Diego in 2018. I was really starting to make better money. My husband was working at the time too, sort of. He had really good contracts, so he was making good money, working as best as he could with basically being just recovered from heart surgery. And I took the money that I made and I bought a plane ticket and a conference ticket and I flew down to San Diego to meet incredible people and go to my first ever personal development event. Even though I didn't know what I was getting into, and at this point, my entire business was solely referral based. It honestly still is. I knew that whatever I wanted, I had to be willing to be all in. And so I invested in this experience. Some of the people that I met there on that week-long experience are people who have radically shifted my life today in ways that I truly could not explain. Some of them are like soul family to me now. I have made really good friends, and they're crucial people in my life. And it was only because I took the leap and went and did it. I felt called. I answered that call. You'll know if you're ready or not. I don't need to sell you on this mastermind. You'll know if you're ready or not for it. That's your job to tune in. First step of listening to your intuition. Tune in. If there's so much overwhelming anxiety around making a decision like that, this isn't the right time for you. It's not. But if your vision, that feeling you've cultivated, perpetual transmission is so deeply in you that even if there's the story of, I don't know how this works out, but I'm going to be all in, then you are ready. And I'm going to leave that for you to discern because I know you know what's best for you. And that's one of those things. You have to be willing to offend. You have to be willing to really put your own experience out into the world. And that's not easy. I wasn't always this sure-footed and confident in my life. It took me going through my own healing journey and finding my voice through my own work and supporting other women that allowed me to develop this, right? We live in a world of instant gratification where it's like, oh, join my program. You're going to make 6 figures. You will if you follow through the steps and implement it as it goes, but it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be overnight. It took me 2.5 years to make 6 figures in 1 year. And what radically shifted was, so I'll give you a timeline trajectory. I started in 2017. I started halfway through the year. I closed out the year with $8,800. 2019, I was doing this more full time, on and off, more so in the evenings, really just from free Facebook Lives. I closed the year off with $32,000. At the end of 2019 was when I invested in my first coach. I really received a lot of guidance and insight and knowledge and support from her. In 2020, I closed that year off with $130,000 in sales. So you can quantum leap. You just have to be willing to go all in. So I love you. I'm going to leave you with that. If you got to this point, I hope you really took something away from this. I wasn't trying to kick your butt, though I was trying to kick your butt. But this work is really something to be taken seriously. And it really isn't, that side of it isn't shown or talked about enough. And I think that that's such a disservice, because then it makes that experience of being a millionaire overnight online such a farce. And that's where this industry really gets a bad rap, is anyone can become a psychic. Anyone can go get a deck of cards. But not everybody's going to make $1 million. And it's going to come down to your education. And I cut out a lot of that by teaching you everything that's required to make 6 figures. And the added bonuses. If you want to start a podcast, you want to develop a course, that's going to be, the podcast is already in there, but if you want to develop a course, that's going to be in there. There's a lot of other great things. All right, I've talked a lot. It's late. I'm going to tune out. I hope you enjoyed this. February is going to be a wild ride, you guys. Buckle up, but tune out the noise. Clear out the distractions. Stay committed to your vision. Put your head down. Get into the space, the container, with the person that's going to support you in executing that. And you're going to do way better than you could ever have thought. My guarantee. All right. I love you. Sending you all the love.
Hey, before you go, I wanted to take a moment to just thank you so much for tuning in with me each and every week. If you weren't already aware, new episodes drop on Mondays. If you could please be so kind as to screenshot this episode, just tag me on Instagram at Rylee June with your biggest takeaway, or if you know someone who could really use the insight and guidance provided to you in this session today, I would love for you to go ahead and share this directly to them. I look forward to continuing to bring you insight, guidance, and self-mastery activation tools that you can implement into your life now to truly evolve and become the divine expander that you are. All right, I cannot wait to chat with you soon. And remember, don't forget to go and find the magic in today.